Welcome back, everyone, to another gameplay review. Today, I'm going to be talking about Forspoken, which was released earlier this year on January 24th. This comes to us from developer Luminous Production, who holds the same engine that is used for the game, which is Luminous Engine, and is published by Square Enix. When it was released and people have played it, it did receive a lot of mixed reviews. It seems like some people thought it was just an okay game, some people really liked it, and some people, this was really not the game for them. So I thought I'd like to review this game, kind of an Alice in Wonderland story. We meet the main character, Frey Holland, who is better known as Frey, during a very turbulent time in her life. She is a teenager who was found at the entrance of the Holland Tunnel and has been raised in and out of foster care. So she has continued to kind of find herself on the wrong side of the law and wants to make a change now that she is pretty much considered an adult. Every time she tries to do something good, it seems like life keeps backfiring on her. So we come to her when she's at a point where everything is going wrong and she just doesn't know what to do. At the lowest point of her life, she comes across this bracelet. And when she touches it, she is transported to a different world. And we find out that the bracelet, or better known as Cuff, is going to be our secondary character in this storyline. It is a sentient being who was turned into that cuff and is now the means in which Frey can channel the magic in this other world, Athia, and use it as a weapon. Cuff has a lot of great little things that he can and cannot do. Frey is the only one who can actually hear Cuff. Cuff allows her to channel magic in a couple different ways, like shielding or blasting things, or even rapid fire attacks. It also gives her a little bit of protection, but we do have other items that do come into play later on. We also do have the world in which she is transported to, which is Athia. So Athia is this other world where magic exists. It used to be ruled by three witches, I guess you could say, for lack of a better word. They call them tantas, and now this world has been ravaged by what they call corruption, or Frey calls the break. There are lands that are just ravaged by it. The wildlife and animals and things have been affected by this dark, corrupt magic. It seems that the witches themselves have turned evil and have turned against this world. So Frey gets dropped into all of this. She isn't affected by the corruption, which everybody is at first very not wowed by. Actually, they think she's like a witch or she's evil, and they almost try her kind of like almost in a Salem witch trial, but she ends up getting some help and becoming more of a savior of the land. So we follow as she tries to figure out what is happening to this world. She also kind of wants a little bit of personal revenge against one of the Tantas, and she's really wanting to get back home. So we continue to follow her through this world, and let me tell you what a huge world it is. Every time I opened the map, I was like, okay, there's new areas to explore, there's new things to kind of see, there's new places to go. This really is an open world kind of game, but does have a bit of structure in the storyline. I felt like this game had more structure in its storyline and in the way that you progress than most of the other open world games that I've played. Most of the time you end up getting really sidetracked, and that's one of the reasons why I'm not particularly a fan of open world games, is because you have the main storyline and then you have all these side quests. And those side quests can sometimes have other side quests, like in the case of Fallout 76, where you go to one place to begin a side quest, and then all of a sudden in that place you get more side quests. And then before you know it, you've played for 6 hours and you haven't completed a single goal for the main quest. That sometimes to me can be a little daunting and a little bit like I've lost interest in the game, because story is what for me really drives me to want to play a game. This game I felt did a good job of containing some of those side quests. So even though you do have places to explore, even though there are things that you do for side quests, they all still kind of lead you on the same path. There was one side quest that I continued to work on almost all the game, and it didn't make me have to go back when I completed it. I actually could continue adding to it. So I actually thought that was pretty good. I know some other people that are big fans of open world game and want more to explore may not like that. So that's up to you if you're that type of person. The world itself is fantastic. I think the graphics and the engine really drive this world very well. A little bit of things that I didn't like was the cutscenes sometimes. You know how as you're learning a game, you can sometimes get interrupted by the kind of skill training, you could say, where it shows you like, oh, you just encountered a new enemy and let me show you how you defeat it, or you've just gained a new skill, let's show you how to defeat it. Well, there were times where that would happen in the middle of a fight, and that kind of threw off the rhythm of a fight, and I didn't like that. The other thing that I didn't like was, I'm not sure if this was something that had to do with the development of the game and the graphics and the engine and everything, but a lot of the cutscenes, there was way too many fade outs. Like, I cannot stress how many fade in and outs there were in the cutscenes. It got to the point where I was just like, can we just get past this cutscene? There were times also where Cuff kind of interrupted you in the middle of like traveling to another area, and you had to have this conversation with him. You could like basically scroll down and hit never mind, but I always feel bad about doing that, because obviously the developer put in these points for you to learn something new. And so I did kind of go through those prompts and talk to Cuff, but I feel like sometimes they were at points that they shouldn't be at, or that they interrupted the flow of the game a little too much. And there wasn't really a way to skip cutscenes. So it's like, if this game plans to have replayability, then there's gotta be a way to skip cutscenes. Because some of the cutscenes, especially when you reach the cities, there's really only like one city that we reach that is inhabited and isn't full of corrupted magic. There's so many cutscenes during your stay there that if you're going to replay this game, you're definitely going to want to skip some of them. So hopefully that's an update that's coming, and you'll see as you play along this game that you will encounter a lot of cutscenes. So let's talk about the character and the stats and kind of like the powers and skill tree. So Frey, as I said, uses the cuff to channel magic. As you can see right here, I'm having one of the initial big fights of the game. So this is when I'm learning how to use the cuff. There's ways that you can kind of rapid fire, even with the 3 different ways that you can use the cuff. So you have kind of like in the HUD, you have that little triangle, and one of them is for your mana. So you do have mana that you can use, which has a few different skills that you learn along the way. You do have the cuff powers, which will be something like a shield that you put up in front of you and then blasts outward. Then you have like the rapid fire attacks, and then you have one which is kind of a power-up attack, which will allow you to really blow things up. And you do have the ability to level these skills up, so each one has a level. And what I found fun in the process of learning these skills and continuing with the game is that they gave you challenges that allowed you to boost those skills as well. So, for example, one of the challenges was like I had to hit 45 enemies from behind with a certain skill, and right now you can see I'm kind of going through the skill tree. I also like that they gave you a little preview. There is also crafting available, so you have two items that are really your kind of like defense, or give you kind of boost to like health or defense or magic. So depending on the items that you harvest while you're playing, you can craft different skills into your cloak and your necklace. There are a variety of cloaks and necklaces that you can find in the world. So they are on the map, and you'll see like a little necklace, or you'll see like a little cloak in certain like little labyrinths that you can, labyrinths and locations where there's fight sequences that you can then unlock these two items. I typically found myself, the necklace, I wasn't too keen on changing. I felt like the original necklace was probably the best one, the first one she got. Once I upgraded it, it was fantastic. The cloak, I did kind of switch a few of them. I tried out, I think, 4. And leveling them up is not too difficult. Basically, as you continue going through the world, just harvest materials as you run around, and you will definitely be able to upgrade both of your items fairly easily and quickly. So it's not, you know, a drain on having to spend hours, harvesting materials. No, it's just basically as you're walking around, as you're moving from one area to another, you'll be able to harvest certain materials. I did have trouble finding some rare materials, like to upgrade the cloak, but that's something that, as time goes on, I probably would have found. When I played this game, and as I played it in default mode. I tried to stick as much to the storyline as possible without deviating too much. So I probably missed quite a few things. I actually do plan to replay this game and kind of look for those hidden items that I didn't find before, and hopefully I'll be able to upgrade the cloak a few more times. The skill tree, like I said, is very easy to follow. In the beginning, I was kind of like, what is all this? But as time went on, I was able to follow things a lot easier. The crafting isn't that difficult. You will find crafting tables located in every one of like the safe houses that you travel to, that then become fast travel points for you. You also should pay attention to certain areas where you can camp out in the open, because they also allow you to craft on the go. And you will particularly find 1 or 2 of them in the labyrinths, which took me a little bit of time to find them. Those are very, very hidden. So just keep an eye out for them. You'll usually find wood next to them. I really did kind of enjoy playing this game. I would say that review wise, my first impressions were, one, I really like the graphics. I think the graphics stand out very well. There are some beautiful, beautiful landscapes in this. The map was a lot bigger than I expected it to be. Overall, the game length is also a lot longer than I expected it to be, and I didn't even discover everything on my own, so I still have a long way to go. I think this game has some replayability value to it. I think you could probably play it once or twice. There are various difficulty modes to play this in. I'm not sure how much that would change things. I did find in the beginning that I shied away from the mutants. They are magic sponges. I mean, you will attack these things and they just don't go down. It took me probably a good 4 hours of playtime to get leveled up enough to take on one of those mutants, and actually successfully kill them. And they don't really have a big payoff. They usually have like a chest that's located next to them with items that you can grab. But they are really good in terms of like a good fight. I really like that. There was a couple areas that did lag a little bit as you kind of moved through the world. And then there was a couple fights that I found very fun. I ended up falling into this kind of valley where it was filled with these like zombie corrupt humans, you could say, that had been affected by the magic. And it was like a horde fight. So I had a lot of fun like that. I really do enjoy horde fights because it's just like mindlessly shooting and killing and trying not to die. So I spent about 10 minutes till I realized, okay, they're just gonna keep coming. I don't know where they're coming from, and I just kind of had to bypass them. I do like that there are some fast travel points in the game because, as I said, the map is huge. So there are times where you just need to get to a safe house, or you need to get from one safe house to another. And the safe houses do make it very easy to travel to different points. There are some lookout points that also double as fast travel points, which is good. Overall, I think that this is a decent game. It is not as bad as some of the games that I've played before. And Square Enix usually does a fairly good job of introducing some new and very unique games. And I think that this is definitely one where there's some replayability. There's definitely room for the story to grow, to progress. There were some things that I found very interesting in what they did. Her having the cuff and being only able to hear him, not anyone else around her, made things sometimes kind of funny. Her being on her own so much made the game interesting. A lot of open world games make you meet a ton of characters as you progress. So you'll go from one area to another and end up doing all these side quests, and you meet character after character after character. Frey really spends a majority of this game on her own, so you really do feel that vastness and openness. The only thing that you're meeting in that open world is enemies. So I found that actually interesting. A lot of open world games aren't like that. Most of the time you're meeting a lot of characters. So I think that was a good choice for this world. If she had been going from town to town and meeting new people, it really would have taken away from the fact that this world is crumbling and kind of, dying on its own because of the magic corruption. So again, I think this is a good game. If you like open world games, if you like adventure RPG, if you like kind of first person shooter, or third person in this case, because you're really playing in third person, then give this game a shot. It definitely will surprise you in some ways. It may lag a little bit in certain areas, but overall I found myself continuing to want to play this game. It wasn't a game that I was like struggling to end. I really did enjoy some of these fights, especially some of the aerial fights where you're on the ground and you've got an enemy flying overhead and you've got to figure out how to fight them. There were a little bit of quirks in some of the fight mechanics, but once you get used to them, then there's really no problems or issues. I didn't have any issues in learning the controls. They were fairly easy to follow. So I think this is a good game. Give it a shot. Let me know what you think, and I will be back soon with another gameplay review. See you then.